Hey, it's Dr. Nina, and welcome to You, Your Body, and Your Health. This is week 4 already, and as promised, today we're going to talk all about the calorie. So, it's October 1st. Happy October. Welcome, October. The interesting thing about October is there's actually a lot of research that says this is the best month to start trying to lose weight. So that's dieting, exercising, whatever you do to try to lose weight. Now, the obvious question is when October comes, should you start counting calories? Well, that's why you should watch this show because after we finish up, you're going to realize that the act of counting calories is not as simple as it's been made to be. So, we're going to break that down. But first, I want you, as always, to give me a comment and let me know where you're tuning in from. I'm not at home. As you can see, this is not my normal office space. So I'm tuning in from Illinois at this point. Let me know where you're coming from. And also, start dropping comments and letting me know some of those questions about calories before we even get started. Again, I always get to your questions, even if I don't get to them directly during the show. You'll get those questions answered. So anything you ever wanted to know about the calorie, make sure you go ahead and drop those questions in the comments box as well throughout, and I'll get to some of them during the show. So we do have a lot to cover, but first, I want to reiterate, as I will do every week, that this show is about increasing your lifespan. We want to improve that, or excuse me, your health span. We want to improve that. We know that we have a defined lifespan. We don't know what it is, but our health span, this is the number of years that we are healthy. That's something that's under our control. So remember that as we progress through every single episode of You, Your Body, and Your Health. It's all about improving your health span and maintaining a healthy body weight. I didn't say being thin, but maintaining a healthy body weight. So a body weight that's healthy for you is just another way that we can improve our health span. And so think about that. So our successful aging segment is back. We didn't have it last week, but we have it this week. And the focus of that will be age doesn't have to be a barrier to your weight loss. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that at the tail end of the show. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this whole notion of calories. What are they? Let me see who's tuning in. All right. All right. Okay, we'll get started. Again, ask those questions. Don't be afraid. So let's go ahead and give a quick rundown of the calorie. So what are they anyway? Well, simply put, calories are simple units of energy. That's it. We actually put a lot of emphasis on them when it comes to losing weight, but really a calorie is just a simple unit of energy. What does that mean? Well, it means that it's an estimate of the energy housed in foods on one end. And on the other, it's an estimate to basically an estimate of our energy expenditure. So, how much we put out during daily activities. So, regular activities of daily living, whether it's brushing your teeth or walking to work, that's considered energy expenditure. And that is another metric that calorie is used to measure. So, I'm going to add a visual up here just as we start this conversation, because again, we hear a lot about calories, but what do they mean? How do they apply to weight loss? And are we looking at them the correct way? So let's put that first figure up. All right. So this is kind of what you stereotypically think about when you think about the calories. So in case you can't see the words with the arrow, that basically means burning off that blueberry muffin there. So burning off the calories in that blueberry muffin would take 90 minutes of walking. So this is how we look at calories. For instance, we look at that taking in the calories by way of eating that muffin and then burning them off by way of exercise. And in this case, if you've had that muffin for breakfast, which many people do, if you had if you had an hour walk, know that you really didn't burn all those calories off of that muffin until you get in that 90-minute walk. Now, this is the way we stereotypically see calories, right? Take it in, burn it off. If you take in more than you burn off, you're going to gain weight. If you take in less than you burn off, or you take in less relative to what you burn, you're going to lose weight. So the obvious route at this point in time as most of us know it is, to do a whole lot of exercise and move a whole lot and starve yourself. So a lot of people, the first thing we do when it comes to losing weight, and when you say the word diet, the first thing that's done is a restriction in calories. And we're going to talk about in this show why that's not necessarily the best route. So think about that. All right, so moving on. Where do calories come from? Look at this figure. They come from food, right? In this case, you're looking at a very carb dense food, but in general, calories come from three essential macronutrients, which I'm sure you heard of: carbohydrates, fats, and protein. These days, we call those macronutrients macros. You'll hear people say, I'm counting my macros, or, I'm making sure I get enough macros in. That's what they're referring to. And all foods, anything you eat and most beverages contain at least one of the macronutrient. So you're going to get at least one. Whatever is mostly present in a macronutrient is what we're going to refer to that macronutrient as. For example, that muffin we put up in the beginning. If you look at that muffin, it's going to have more carbohydrates or more carbs relative to protein and to a certain extent fat. So we're going to refer to that as a carb versus a steak, which has, more obviously more protein. It's known for that protein. It has fat as well, but it's more known for that protein. We typically refer to that as a protein. Now, I will be the first to tell you that we need calories. We need calories. This is the only way that our body really gets enough energy to maintain all of its vital functions at what's called the metabolic rate. Now, I'm sure you heard about the metabolic rate before. That's basically your metabolism. And this is the amount of calories you burn doing absolutely nothing. So even if you sitting here breathing is, burning calories at that metabolism or that metabolic rate, you thinking is burning calories at that metabolic rate. And we need energy. We need energy to do that. And that energy is going to come from the calories housed in the foods we eat. Now, here's the deal. In the absence of energy, what do you think the body is going to do? So we have all these vital functions. Put in the comments box. And I'm telling you to put it in there because every last one of us has dieted before. I know we have. We've restricted calories to lose weight. What do you think happens when we strip away at those calories that we need to sustain these vital functions? Drop me a note in the comments box. Let me know what you know. I know you know this answer. There's a lot of processes the body go through when you start restricting calories, mainly because this is a primal mechanism. It's a primal mechanism that's ingrained within us to help us basically not starve. So the body is aimed at not making us starve. So basically what happens when you restrict too many calories is your body is going to shut down and do everything that it needs to do for you to eat. And that's usually what happens with the diet. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But it's important to know, and you've heard these numbers before, you've either heard or seen them before, that the average resting metabolic rate is somewhere between 1,200 and 1,500 calories each day. So I know that you've heard that before. 1,200 to 1,500 calories is the minimum that you would eat in order to in order to maintain those vital functions. But here's the deal, and it's a very important point. This number depends on so many factors: age, gender, your overall stature. Some of us have different, our body weight is distributed a different way. It depends on your current weight. It depends on your level of leanness. So if you have more muscle relative to fat, you're going to have a higher metabolic rate. And it also depends on your activity level. And the thing that happens with metabolism that a lot of people ignore is that it's dynamic. It's constantly changing. You don't get this metabolism, it just stays here. So that's another thing, that kind of mistake that we make when calorie counting. We'll start counting calories and basically our metabolism is adapting. So at any given point of weight loss, your metabolism or your metabolic rate has flipped and you're still doing the same calculation over. So let me know, if that's making sense to you, because we're going to move on into really talking about how you target this. But the key takeaway from what I just said is eat plenty and be active. because what you're going to need to do to a certain extent is you're going to have to eat enough to maintain that healthy, or excuse me, to maintain that healthy metabolism. But you're also going to have to do enough because you do want to create balance. But again, simple counting calories alone is not going to give you the balance that you think you need. It's so much more than that. So, what is it? Let's talk about really the role of calories in weight loss. I'm going to put up another visual here because really we've been taught the same thing. We've been taught that losing weight is a matter of simple math. 3,500 calories in, 3,500 calories out is what weight maintenance is, or weight management. But we've also been taught that, doing 3,500 calories is in a pound of fat, right? If we lose 3,500 calories or somehow withhold 3,500 calories, we're going to lose a pound of fat. So basically, calorie management, that is no weight gain, no weight loss, weight maintenance, that'll be calorie management. And it's the point at which your calories consumed equals your calories burned all the time. So there's that muffin again. The calories consumed and the calories burned being that walking. But look at that little subcategory I've opened up down there. Metabolic rate, food type, and gut microbiome. They also influence how many calories you burn. So metabolic rate, all those factors that I talked about, because remember, metabolic rate is influenced in and of itself by your age, gender, stature, current weight, your leanness, your activity level. So all these things are going to not only influence how many calories, your metabolic rate in general, but also how many calories you burn during expenditure. And it's also going to influence how your calories are processed when you eat them. Your food type, whether you're eating carbohydrates, whether you're eating proteins or fats, and also whether you're eating processed foods versus non-processed foods or whole foods, that's going to influence how you burn calories. And then you have your gut microbiome. That's going to also influence how you burn calories. So all of this together is going to influence what you do. Are you learning something? Tell me if you're learning something so far before I move on. I need to see a yes, yes, raise your hand, say something as we move on, because now I'm going to get into the actual solutions. Because I want you to take away this, if nothing else. Your metabolism, the type of food you eat, and those organisms living in your gut are all going to influence your calories burned. Now, here we are counting calories. We're saying, I burn 2,500, I burn 250 calories on my treadmill, and now I'm going towards weight loss. And we're adding it up every week like it's some kind of math problem. And it's not like that. And I'm so glad everyone is learning. Now, let me tell you the beautiful thing about this whole scenario. It's easier than we think because we're in this situation where we are counting calories and oh my God, we're out to dinner and we got these calculators out and we're cooking and we're trying to measure seasonings and oils and every single thing we put in something. It's easier than you think. The best way to lose weight is without counting calories. It's the steps that you follow when you're doing it. So let's talk about that because this is the key takeaway that I want you to get from that last slide. Focus on what you eat overall. We're going to focus on the quality of food, not the quantity, because I'm going to tell you something really crazy. When you focus on quality, your food is actually going to drive your weight loss, not the numbers in the food. How many of you all have found that people who eat a whole lot of food on certain diets, I won't name them all, but there are a lot of different diets. You have intermittent fasting regimens, you have ketogenic diets. It's a lot of different diets, but people are constantly consuming food. And you're like, how is it that they're eating all this and I have this little amount of food on my plate and I'm not losing anything? The truth is we can be the same. We can have the same weight loss goal. We can have all the same factors physically. We can eat the same amount. As far as calories now, we can eat the same amount of calories. We can do the same exercise to burn those calories. And what the person is eating, how their gut functions, and the specific metabolism they have is going to influence how fast or slow they lose weight. So I want you to think about that. And the first step in really making a real difference, because remember, when we're talking about health span, we're always talking about what's under our control. We can't control in many ways most of the factors that are associated with our metabolism. We can lift weights, we can do other things that, and be active, but we really can't control our age, gender, and all of that stuff. But we can control the quality of foods we eat. Are you with me? We can control the quality of the foods we eat. Yes, we can control that. So let's talk about that and more factors that we can control in order to lose weight without ever counting a calorie again. Let me get one of them. I've said it a lot. It has something to do with what? Food. Whole food versus processed foods. So what are some of the whole foods you think that we should be upping our intake of in order to lose weight? What are some of those? And I also have questions of how to boost my metabolism. Thanks, Kim, for the question. That's actually a great question as you all think about some of the foods that were promoted. The best way to boost metabolism, again, we're talking about factors that we can actually control. And something that we can control is what we eat. So I'm going to answer your question, Kim, actually, as I go through this segment. I see fruits up there. That is definitely one of them. And choosing whole foods over processed foods, we're going to focus on more vegetables and fruits in our diets. Why? I talked about that gut bacteria, that bacteria in your gut. Have you ever heard the term prebiotics? So say yes. Say, yeah, I've heard it. Yeah, I've heard it, or something like that. Because many people talk about prebiotics, but they don't know what they mean. Well, the fibers, prebiotics are basically fibers, plant fibers that nourish the organisms that we're referring to living in the gut. So when you eat those vegetables and fruits, you're promoting gut health. You're also improve. It's a process of, a whole versus a processed food. So it's influencing your overall calorie burn rates. And most important, it's also keeping your metabolism at a healthy level, but also offering more nutrients, quality nutrients for every calorie they have. Now, I'm going to also give you something to tie into that. 2-to-1 ratio. Remember this. You want a 2-to-1 ratio when it comes to consuming vegetables and fruits, because and vegetables being the two. Because as much as fruits are good for you and healthy for you, they do house natural sugars, and you don't want to overload on those. So focus on eating your vegetables and your fruits at a 2-to-1 ratio. What does that mean? For every 2 servings of vegetables you only have 1 serving of fruit. When you're making those smoothies, 2 vegetables per fruit. So that's telling you right now, when we're living healthy, we want to make sure that we're not having fruit-dense smoothies. We want to make sure we're getting those vegetables in over those fruits. And that's very, very important to get. Now, next thing, as far as choosing whole foods over processed foods, more fat and more quality protein. These are thermogenic nutrients. What does that mean? Those are thermogenic nutrients, are nutrients that actually raise your metabolism temporarily during digestion. Isn't that something else, Kim? That's a way to increase your metabolism during digestion, because protein and fat make your body more metabolically active when burning. Carbs don't do that. Carbs are simple sugars. They kind of go in there and they do what they're going to do because they break down the sugar. So just by eating more protein and quality fat, as we're going to talk about plenty of ways to do that throughout the course of this show, period. We're always talking about them. Just by doing that, you're boosting your metabolic rate, just by eating that food over carbs. And finally, this is one that I want to emphasize. Make sure you're getting in natural sources of prebiotics, which I've already talked about, and probiotics for gut health. And notice that I said natural sources. I didn't say supplements. You can do supplements, but no supplement is ever going to replace a whole food, ever. I don't care what you think. I don't care what people are trying to sell you. No supplement is ever going to replace the natural prebiotics and probiotics housed in foods. You can supplement to help, but supplements are no substitute for good nutrition. Because again, we're talking about foods working in their totality. You want to make sure you're eating those vegetables and fruits to get everything they have on top of the prebiotics. You want to make sure you're getting in getting in your kefir. You want to make sure you're getting in your yogurt. Greek yogurt is a great one. You can eat sauerkraut, your pickles, your olives, all these things to get in those probiotics, so those fermented foods. Everything works together. Everything works as a system. So to have proper gut health, to make sure that your metabolism and therefore the way you burn calories is in check, you want to make sure you have all those things. So think about that. And of course, it's the ultimate rule: exercise and exercising intensely. It's not enough to just exercise. And when I say intensely, I don't mean going to be a marathoner and run. I mean, take your flat walk to a hill walk, and now you're having more intensity. And of course, as I always emphasize, lift weights. Not only does lifting weights preserve muscle, which plays a critical role in your metabolism, to that metabolism question, but lifting weights also, get this, boost your metabolism even after you finish. So your when you lift weights, if you have an intense weightlifting session, your metabolic rate actually increases for 12 hours, up to 12 hours beyond your weightlifting session, which means that you're burning more calories naturally just because you lifted weights. Now look at the power in that. So that's another way to burn calories lose weight without counting calories. I'm going to say it again like a broken record. Get enough rest. We have to sleep, people, at least 6 hours each night. We talked about it in previous shows. When you don't sleep, you have higher cortisol levels. Remember, that's that stress hormone. Go back and watch the previous shows if you don't know what that cortisol, that stress hormone is. And that just keeps popping up when you don't get sleep. And the same holds true for stress management. Remember that stress belly cycle we talked about in previous shows. That just doesn't apply to belly fat. It also applies to whole body weight gain and weight loss. So let's get our breathing in. Let's get our morning meditations in and get some of those relaxation techniques. These can all help. We'll talk about more strategies for these in previous shows. Tell me, are you getting what you need? Ask those questions. Continue to ask those questions. Remember, I will get to them if I don't on the show, but I really want you to take, if nothing else from this, that we can control. We can control how we lose weight without ever counting a single calorie. I promise. And yes, Garen, the body rebuilds itself through sleep. If you're not getting sleep, the body is not rebuilding itself. If you're not sleeping, those fats and proteins and all those yummy nutrients aren't doing what they're supposed to do. Your body needs that sleep. And if you're not sleep, you're stressed, even if you don't know it. You can't cheat your body. You cannot cheat your body. You may not feel stressed, but if you're not sleeping, you're stressed, even if you don't know it. And finally, I want to emphasize this one. And look at me in my eyes, people, because this is one that you're probably not going to expect to hear from me. Sometimes you need medical support. Sometimes you just need it. There are some prescribed medications that may be causing weight gain or hindering weight loss. And believe it or not, there are some weight loss medications that help. And I'm not talking about the ones we see on these commercials and infomercials. I'm talking about medications that may actually help. That doesn't mean you lean on these medications and stuff and never exercise. This means you use them as part of your weight loss regimen. So talk to your physicians if you feel like you're just not getting it. You still don't have to count calories. And know that in some cases, in extreme cases, surgery is indicated. But remember, if we don't address the source, even if you get surgery to support your weight loss, if you go back to the same behaviors again, you will gain the weight back. So remember, you don't feel like you quit if you get surgery or take a medication, but just know that you have to continue Even if you get surgery, it goes back to these same factors. And let me tell you, it works. It may work. So that being said, I want to go ahead and move on into our aging successfully segment, because again, there are some things that happen with aging that we should discuss. So let's go. Here's the kicker. Aging reduces metabolism. I'm sorry, folks. Aging ain't fun sometimes. It reduces our metabolism naturally, even if we don't want it to. So from the time we turn 30, our body says, you're aging. And what happens with that reduction in metabolism? With that reduction in metabolism, you get a reduction in lean mass. It happens in large part as a result of a reduction in lean mass. That's your muscle. It naturally starts to decline. So that's responsible for it. You may find that you just have a higher tendency to develop belly fat. That's because aging is associated with increased stress hormones. But there is something we can do about it, as I said before. Age does not have to be a barrier to weight loss. A lot of the rules that I've already mentioned, I don't even want to call them rules, a lot of the lifestyle choices that I've already mentioned still apply. But you want to hone in on a few that are specific to aging, specifically beneficial for aging. And one is maintaining a good balance of moderate to high intensity cardio exercise, which again requires lifting weights. Now, and I'm saying this and emphasizing this in the Aging Successfully segment, because we tend to slow down when we age. And a lot of us actually have the audacity to say, I'm getting older, so I just can't do that stuff anymore. Well, if we're trying to lose weight or even maintain a weight loss, as we age, our bodies are going to fight back. The body does not go down with a fight. And as we age, if we don't carry on these behaviors, these healthy lifestyle behaviors, namely exercising, remember, moderate to high intensity. I'm not talking about a flat walk. I'm talking about a hill walk. We have to do that little extra as we age in order to age successfully when it comes to maintaining an ideal body weight. Now, that's something that you can control. Someone said last week, and I loved it. They said, control the controllables. I like that. Control the controllable factors. And that's what aging successfully is all about. I want to emphasize to up your intake of monounsaturated fats and omega-3 fatty acids, and avoid trans fats at all costs. Why? The omega-3s and the monounsaturated fats actually support fat burning in general, but they also keep that gut balance in check. And they're also metabolically active. So when you're digesting those foods, you're going to have a busy metabolism, and it's also, a busy metabolic rate, and it's also going to improve the rate at which you absorb, or improve your ability to absorb those probiotics, those prebiotics, fruits and vegetables, which promote the probiotics housed in those fermented foods. So hopefully I got that one in. And I have someone that says I have I'm talking about that some more. So we talked about omega-3s. I'm sorry. I'm going to tackle one question, tackle the other question. Omega-3s, that's a great question. And I'm going to talk about those. I want to read this one. I have only body fat, how to lose. Okay. All right. We'll talk about that. I'll get to your question for sure, Dorothea. We're going to get to that question. It'll take some more. So hang tight. I'll answer your question. I want to talk about those sources of omega-3s. You're going to get omega-3s from like your fatty fish, your chia seeds, your flax seeds. Those are going to give you omega-3s. You get those from walnuts too. And walnuts also contain monounsaturated fats, which you'll also get from your avocado, your extra virgin olive oil, your olives, as well as your avocado oils. So those are the things that are going to get you monounsaturated fats. There are many, many more, but these are just some of the ones that you want to up your intake for. I'll get to those questions, those next set of questions. I get so excited that I want to just answer all your questions at once. And finally, I'm going to emphasize this on the final note. Take plenty of probiotic and prebiotic foods. Take in those foods. Again, these are your nutrition boosters. The supplements, they're okay, but you want to really get it from those foods. And I'm going to list some of those foods in the comment section because I know there's a bit of confusion about it. So stay tuned as I list a lot of those foods in the comment section for you. What do these do specifically for aging? Well, they help alleviate lactose intolerance. They support calcium absorption, and they also promote regularity. And these are all issues that we have as we age. So by taking in those prebiotic and probiotic rich foods, you're not only maintaining healthy gut balance, but you're also improving all of these other issues or reducing your likelihood of these other issues that come with aging. So that's alleviating lactose intolerance, calcium absorption, which is important for bone health, and regularity. You see how fast that went this week. It always happens to me that way. But no, as always, I'm going to answer your questions offline, and be sure to continue to tune in every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for You, Your Body, and Your Health. You can find me on all my social media channels at That Salad Lady. For Instagram, it's that.salad.lady. That's the only one that's different. And I'm always welcome to, or open to answering your questions. So I welcome questions at any given time. Make sure you ask those at any given time and I'll get to them. And you have a fabulous first day of the month and rest of the weekend. And I will see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in yet again. Take care.